like they didn't show up at the Capitol and break windows and knock down doors and kill cops and chase.
They didn't do that.
And they didn't break windows,
they didn't
knock
kill
down
cops.
They of course did.
No, they didn't.
Who did? They died of natural causes that day?
Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, the medical examiner, has determined that he suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes.
Bill Maher also showed up on the Megyn Kelly show, and, well, that wasn't quite as friendly because, well, Megyn Kelly is not a brain-dead liberal like the hosts of The View, and she and Bill Maher actually got into quite a few different disputes. And, well, sadly for Bill Maher, many of those disputes had to do with just basic facts. And as you see a couple of these segments transpire, you will see that Megyn Kelly actually knows the news, actually knows the facts involved in major issues involving politics in America today. And even more revealing, Bill Maher just doesn't. He doesn't know the basic facts about what he talks about. And so he's got this platform, he's got this show, he's got this power, and he's got an audience that thinks he's fantastic. And meanwhile, as Megyn Kelly reveals here, he doesn't actually know what he's talking about. And I think this is probably indicative of most people with high-profile positions in the commentariat or the entertainment business on the left. Watch this.
Course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
Okay. I mean, she conceded the election. Whether you're interpreting her disappointment at losing it as the same thing as Trump not conceding it, I don't know if that's where you're getting it from. But again, it's a tremendous false equivalency. You could ask Hillary Clinton right now who won that election. She will tell you. Donald Trump won the election.
Now she knows she has to because of what Trump has done.
She came out that night in her dark purple suit and conceded the election.
Correct. And then spent the next 4 years trying to convince us it was not legitimate.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
It's just fantastic. And it's absolutely 100% accurate. And it shows you that Bill Maher's got really strong opinions. And he'll tell you his strong opinions. And he'll even make fun of you for disagreeing with his opinion. But he doesn't actually know the facts that would support his opinion. So if the facts are wrong to support his opinion, then his opinion's got to be wrong too. And yeah, I love how Megyn Kelly comported herself there and handled it. And by the way, this whole thing, I love the splitting of hairs now. And let's just get the facts out since we're dealing with facts. She came out before the sun rose the next morning. No, she didn't. It was like midday when she finally conceded the election. She sent out John Podesta the night of the election when it was over, but they refused to concede. They regrouped and tried to figure it out. And if you read the book Shattered, there's a book called Shattered. It's written by 2 political insiders. I think they're both reporters for Politico. I can't remember their names right now off the top of my head. But they were embedded in the Hillary Clinton campaign throughout the entire thing. The book Shattered was supposed to be this incredible triumphant story of the first woman president. See, Shattered was meant to describe the glass ceiling that Hillary Clinton was going to shatter. Now, when they actually told the story of the Hillary Clinton loss in 2016, Shattered took on a new meaning because their souls were shattered that she lost. And the entire hopes and dreams of the women in America were shattered because of the victory of Donald Trump. But in that book, they talk about the week after, like days after the election, John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, they met and tried to say, well, okay, what the hell happened? And they decided right then and there that it was Vladimir Putin. They created the Russian collusion narrative in that meeting. I kid you not. In fact, during the next clip, I'll try to pull this up if I can. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but it 100% in the book. I've read the book twice already. And they determined in that meeting that the explanation as to how they lost the easiest election that they've, I mean, what was the New York Times claiming on election day? That she had a 98% chance of victory and she lost? The only explanation was Vladimir Putin and Russian collusion. So this whole mythology that she, oh, sure, you know, she wasn't happy about it and she thought that the Russians tampered, but she did concede. She wasn't a denier. Well, what you just saw, that clip, she kept saying that over and over again for the next 3 years, that the election was stolen, number one. And number two, behind the scenes, she and her little trained flying monkeys in the FBI and the Justice Department worked every single day through illegal leaks to the media and eventually through the special prosecutor's investigation, Robert Mueller's investigation, to undermine that president. So sure, maybe he's in the White House, but he's illegitimate, and we're going to do everything we can to undermine everything that he does. Now, if Bill Maher is telling us that that's the better way to go, rather than saying, hey, I don't think this was on the up and up, well, that's a hell of a position to take. But to suggest that Hillary Clinton's behavior after the 2016 election was the noble approach is to be just ignorant of reality and history, which, as you will see in these other clips, it appears to be the case. It appears that Bill Maher is, in fact, ignorant of what, not just history like in the long term, but recent history that he comments on a regular basis. Here's the next example.
I think on January 20th, 2025, he'll show up at the White House, whether he's invited or not. And I don't think that's going to be good.
He's gonna bomb in if he lost.
Yes. Oh yeah, bomb is a word I wouldn't even throw around lightly.
Oh, stop it! He's not going to do that.
Right, like there was never an attack on the Capitol.
Oh, I hear you, but he's not going to show up at the inauguration.
Like they didn't show up at the Capitol and break windows and knock down doors and kill cops and chase.
They didn't do that.
And they didn't break windows.
They didn't
knock
kill
down
cops.
They of course did.
No, they didn't.
Who did? They died of natural causes that day?
Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, the medical examiner, has determined that he suffered 2 strokes and died of natural causes.
Yeah, nobody died that day.
Cops.
No, not true. Who?
Okay.
Who?
Oh, I don't remember the names.
They didn't. There was Brian Sicknick, who died later after the fact.
She remembers the names. Brian Sicknick is the name of the cop. And yes, he did, in fact, die of natural causes. This whole mythology. Now, the only thing that Megyn Kelly got wrong there was when she said nobody died as a result of the January 6th attacks. That's not true. One person did die. Her name's Ashley Babbitt. She was shot by a Capitol Hill police officer on Nancy Pelosi's detail, and no charges were ever pressed. She was shot through a closed door, through a window, in the head, by a police officer who was actually reprimanded for leaving his loaded firearm in a bathroom at the Capitol negligently. That was the cop who shot Ashley Babbitt. So yeah, no, somebody definitely died on January 6th as a result of the events of January 6th. It just wasn't any of the police officers. Sorry, Bill. But it's, again, another indication that Bill Maher really doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is what always amazes me about people on the left, like Bill Maher, is that it's the ones who have the strongest opinions who actually don't know the facts at hand. Bill Maher doesn't just have strong opinions, but he sardonically ridicules anyone who is on the other side of his issue. Sure, he engages in conversation and he'll, and he doesn't hate you, but he'll mock you. He'll tease you. He'll think you're stupid. And meanwhile, he doesn't know the basic facts at hand of January 6th. The other thing that always interests me about this, the way this conversation goes, take a listen one more time. This idea that what happened on January 6th was, he says they showed up and they did this and they did that. Who is they exactly? They really do believe that and I'm not a fan of what happened on January 6th. I wish it hadn't happened because I do think that conservatives and Trump supporters in some small way, because of the events of January 6th, have lost the moral high ground when it comes to talking about the violence of the left. I mean, the comparison is not even close. The number of riots and arson and vandalism and deaths as a result of left-wing violence through the BLM riots, as well as any Antifa encounter, it's astronomical. It's 1,000 to 1, literally. But because January 6th happened in real time, before our very eyes, on live television, in broad daylight, and at the United States Capitol, it is magnified times 1,000,000. And as bad as it was, and as destructive as it is to conservatives' moral high ground to be able to accuse the left of being the one to employ violence for political means, there's still this fake mythology that the left has built around it, that this in some way was Trump's army. You heard Maxine Waters the other day saying that they're training in the hills right now, right? She believes that there are armies of MAGA hat wearing January 6th insurrectionists who are going through basic training somewhere in the hills to come and take up arms and seize control of the nation if the election doesn't go their way. And that's what he's done. Listen to him again, the way he describes the events of January 6th. They'll do this and they'll do that, as if there's this underground militia that has grown and is in coordination with the Trump campaign. I truly do believe that they think that. If you watch Morning Joe or any show on MSNBC, that's how they talk. Listen.
I think on January 20th, 2025, he'll show up at the White House, whether he's invited or not. And I don't think that's going to be good.
He's gonna bomb in if he lost.
Yes. Oh yeah, bomb is a word I wouldn't even throw around lightly.
Oh, stop it! He's not going to do that.
Right, like there was never an attack on the Capitol.
Oh, I hear you, but he's not going to show up at the inauguration.
Like they didn't show up at the Capitol and break windows and knock down doors and kill cops. And
isn't that fascinating? I don't know anybody, and listen, you just heard me. I have criticisms about January 6th, as we all should. But I don't know anybody who actually just thinks that that's what happened, that January 6th was some sort of planned, organized, they showed up and they did this and they did that. But this is what the left has created with the January 6th subcommittee and the televised hearings and the most expensive Justice Department investigation in history, and on and on and on. They have created this boogeyman. Because here's the thing. If you can't actually argue with and defeat your political opponent on a fair playing field with the facts, then you create a political opponent that you can defeat, that you can box into a corner, that you can paint like a monster. If your opponent isn't a monster, then you warp reality and turn your political opponent into a monster. Because then anybody who agrees with your opponent, if shot through your lens or the lens you've created in the media and the pop culture, then that person who agrees with your opponent is actually agreeing with the monster you've created. Not that that monster is really a monster, but since you've created it and no one's able to destroy that illusion, then that's how you win. And that's what the left does. That's what they've been doing. And I do love Megyn Kelly's attitude here. She's not rising up in any sort of emotional anger. She's oh, well, that's not going to happen. Oh, shut up. That didn't happen. Come on. No, that's not true. One more. Megyn Kelly engages with it. He says, she goes, I've seen your show. You agree that the border is a disaster. How in the hell can you vote for Biden knowing that?
But you bypass the immigration question. I mean, like that.
I'm not
a lot
bypassing
of
it. I think it's a disaster.
How would you put this guy back in there for 4 more years to leave the doors open?
And like it was so much better under Trump.
Yes, it was better under Trump. Are you kidding me?
It was
Did you-
somewhat better.
Oh, Bill.
It was somewhat better.
Go
It-
look
it-
up the immigration rates.
Yeah, I know.
Illegal
Right.
immigration
No, I
rates
agree.
for
No,
2020, for
look,
19 to 20.
I'm not defending Biden on immigration. I don't understand why it's so difficult in this country to stop people coming through the border. I don't. And I watched that 60 Minutes piece they did on it a couple of months ago, and they had films of people coming through this hole and the border patrol just watching them and basically waving. I don't understand why. I don't understand why this country can't accomplish something like that. It doesn't seem like it's impossible. But so
We
many things
can.
in this what?
That's what's so aggravating. We can accomplish it. We can
Yeah.
stop what's happening at the southern border. We just won't under Joe Biden. And he keeps pretending like he has no agency on it, but he does have agency. There are a lot of executive orders he could do, just like Trump did. He won't. And you know why? It's because of the people who use the word Latinx, who are trying to lecture him that it's not humane to enforce our borders.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Of course, that's 100% true. And I love the way Megyn Kelly put it. Good for her. The same people who use the word Latinx, those are the ones. And Bill Maher had to agree. Again, this faux, gosh, we seem so incompetent as a country that we can't do anything about it. It's fake. He can't be that naive. He can't be that dumb. Everybody knows that the border is a disaster. And what's wrong with our country that we can't get our crap together and fix it? We can. Of course we can. But every time somebody goes up and says, okay, no one's going to be allowed in. We have a closed border. We're going to enforce it. We will turn you away. We don't care if you're claiming asylum. If you want to claim asylum, you do it in Mexico or you do it in your own country. But you do not sneak across the border. If you are found, you will be arrested and deported. If we find you in this country and you've been here illegally, you will be deported. Anytime any politician ever says that, going all the way back to Ronald Reagan, they have been called racist. They've been called xenophobic. They've been called hate mongers. And the left, Bill Maher's buddies, have put roadblocks at every step of the way, either through the judicial system or legislatively, to keep the deportations from happening and to keep the border from being secured. And he must know that. There is no possible way that you can be as intelligent as he appears to be and not know that. So I am done with this whole fake, well, yes, of course the border's a mess. Immigration is a complete disaster. I just don't understand why we can't get it together. Whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, we just can't fix this problem. I'm sorry, but I have to say, bull, complete and total bull. And you know it, and he knows it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. At this point, if you were saying the border's a disaster, immigration's a mess, but I just don't see why anyone can fix it, why can't we fix this? I've got to think that you know the facts, you're lying, and you're just posturing because you know yourself that there is no excuse for it. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing with Bill Maher here. Good for Megyn Kelly.